Hello, welcome to Console Shock, retro and modern gaming chat with me, Trev, and as always, Stu. How's it going, Stu? I hope you're absolutely spot on.
I'm spot on, mate. Spot on. Absolutely pumped. This is a positive episode. I felt that the last episode was not positive. I felt I was very angry. Potentially.
Yeah.
No, it was. I was really quite negative. And I sort of came out of that and thinking, I was in a bit of a bad place there. You know, not mentally or anything, but more like just got angry, really. And
you got angry about the PlayStation handheld?
No, we did the Xbox pricing, didn't we? That was the last one.
It was part of that episode, but yeah, the majority of it was the PlayStation handheld.
Oh yeah, but I think it could put you in a bad place. The pricing, and
you don't remember a bloody episode, Stu? You don't remember bloody episodes?
No. Sorry,
listen to them over and over.
Trev, I'm getting old. I don't listen to my own voice. That's the last thing I want to listen to. But anyway, an update on the Xbox. I have cancelled my Xbox Ultimate membership. I'm now just PC Game Pass, and I suspect in a year or two they'll remove that or something. So, yeah.
How do you feel about that?
Well, it feels like I still think that's good value for money, but my Xbox in the living room is almost like, well, I want to keep that because it's a DVD player. It plays Blu-rays, and I think I'll just buy the odd game in a sale to play in there, or maybe something like GTA 6. Talking about GTA 6, have you heard the news, Trevor, about GTA 6?
Oh, well, I mean, CG6 is a fairly low-key game, so the sort of news for that tends to just, it's kind of there and gone in a matter of minutes. Under the radar, exactly. Tell us, Stu. Tell us, what is happening with GTA 6?
Everyone knows what we're talking about. It was meant to come out in May of next year, so... and it's been delayed until November of next year. So it's basically delayed until a year away today, let's say, around that time. And I think I want it to be a good product. At the moment, I've got plenty of things to play. I'm playing the new Outer Worlds game. I'm playing Ball Pit as well on Game Pass. Really enjoying that. And I'm there's lots of things I've got, and I want to play it. I'm genuinely excited about it, but it's a little bit disappointing. It's a little bit sort of disappointing that it's gone back 6 months, because GTA 5 was such a good game. It was so
it was all right.
It was just nothing's I think sort of beaten that game. Sort of
GTA 5 did the video games good. I think that's what we can say about that one.
It did. So what's your thoughts? Are you happy? Not that you're. I don't think people are happy, but then I don't think we know the whole picture, because we could be going. If we were working at Rockstar, we'd go, oh my God, this is in a bad place. We need another 6 months. Well, that's a good thing. But then if they're going, oh well, we just got to tighten up the ray tracing and I don't know, just do, I don't know, put some more cuticles in it or something like that.
But as much shaders as we can.
Yeah, let's get some more shaders in it. If they're doing like extra shader work, like who cares about that? Get the game out. I want it for the story. I want to run around the city shooting everyone. I'm not fussed about how many rays are traced. That's what I want. So
you're not going to get a job on Digital Foundry with that attitude, Stu.
I don't think I would.
I don't care about the graphics, or if it's 10 frames a second or 100. Who cares? You guys need to stop with that. You need to chill out about that, Digital Foundry. All right. It's about the gameplay. It's about the gameplay.
It is about the gameplay, Trev. And I'm trying to have an opinion on something. Well, I don't really know the whole picture because it could be in an awful state and it needs another 6 months to get it even playable. Or they could just be, polishing the turd for the next year. And I could be playing that game now and having a pretty good experience.
Yeah. I'm not bothered, really. I mean, I'm not absolutely... crazily creaming my pants in anticipation of it coming out. I'm looking forward to it. It's a game that I do want to play, and I'll get it when it comes out. It's probably the only thing I'm really going to have a PS6 for, a PS5 for. It'll probably be on the PS6 as well. There'll be a definitive edition that will come out for that, and probably the PS7 after that as well.
Oh, yeah.
GTA 5 is anything to go by. But, yeah, it's... It would have been nice to play it sooner, but I'd rather they finish the game and have it in a really good state, where it's going to be, there's no major bugs or issues with shader compilation stuttering and traversal stuttering that are the most frustrating things that can happen in modern games. And it has a stable frame rate that, probably 30 is the best you'll be able to get, I think, on a base PS5. Maybe they're putting some extra stuff in for the Pro, PS5 Pro. Maybe they were able to get a 60 frames a second mode going. So yeah, if it's able to do all of that stuff, and that's what those extra months are needed for polishing, I'm all for it. There's plenty of other games that I can play and will be playing in the meantime. The only thing I wish was the case if they announced if that delay was just so they could bring out a PC version. I mean, there isn't any precedence really for a PC version coming out at the same time as the consoles. That hasn't happened until GTA 4 came out, I think, just a few months after the console versions. There was a much shorter gap then. It was a different world then, of course, of game development. But yeah, GTA 5. We didn't get GTA 5 on PC till a couple of years later, 2015. I actually got it on day one for PC when it came out. Having already played it on the Xbox 360, but it was the PC where I played it the most. And then like Red Dead, we never got Red Dead until we got it recently on the PC. But in terms of when it was released, it never came out. The original sort of build of that game, I guess you could say, never got released on the PC. Red Dead 2 we did get again a couple of years later. And pretty good on the PC it was as well. That's where I kind of finished it, really. Again, I played it on the Xbox, had a good few hours on it, kind of just got bored of it and never went back. And then it came out on the PC, and that's where I actually finished it on my Steam Deck.
Oh, wow.
So it was would have been mind-blowing, back when that game came out, to be able to play that game to a high level of quality on a handheld, You'd be able to do it on a gaming laptop, with a very beefy one in those days. Or it never came out on PCs. Until later on. But yeah,
it's such a shame that Rockstar have not had that much sort of focus on the PC market, because the PC in Grand Theft Auto 5 has done amazingly well, and
it's a very good
amount of people's play on it all the time, and the online world has really sort of come to alive on that. So I find it very unusual that there's not many games that come on both the Xbox and the PlayStation 5, and then not the PC as well. And they're probably actually you're what you're saying there is actually it could be coming out on the PC as well. That's why it's delayed. That could be a real sort of positive. But I think in reality it will come out later. Certainly,
it's come out on PC a couple of years.
Yeah. And I'm certainly sort of really looking forward to it. But
it's we'll see what happens. I mean, like I said, I'm all for it. I mean, get more polish. I think it'll be interesting to see how it. I think it'll be a big boost to people that have been gaming on PS4 and still are, and Xbox One and still are, and haven't bothered to upgrade. This will be the first game that I think will really trigger people. There hasn't been like an absolute killer app really of the current generation. I mean, you had like the Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart and things like that on like PS5, but nothing that was really going to make tens of millions of people drop their old system for the new one. Whereas this is that game, and amazingly, it's we're near the sort of the downward slope now, really, of the current generation of consoles. I would say if the PS6 is potentially coming out in 2027, we're definitely on that downward slope of it, of the PS5's heyday. I would say so. So yeah, we'll see what happens. But moving on, one thing that I'm really curious to hear about from you, Stu, you've kind of you've shown that you've this is something you've just got into. But we've talked about Bazzite before. We had a whole episode on Bazzite, in fact.
Can you see me? Can you see me?
Yeah, people listening on the podcast.
No, they can't see me.
They can't. That's the issue we face here, Stu. I was going to describe.
Can you see what I'm holding up? I'm holding up a box.
You've got an Intel. So you've got an Intel one of those little Intel Mac Mini looking thingies. Yeah. Intel, was it NUC? NUC? I'm not sure what you actually call it. NUC. Yeah. NUC. Yeah, it could be. Yeah, it's one of those. But yeah, we talked about Bazzite. A few months ago, we had a whole episode about it because I put Bazzite on a Lenovo Legion Go, and basically, wiped out Windows from that, and just exclusively started using Bazzite on it. Had a much better experience. There are downsides that we've discussed when talking about SteamOS. Generally, Bazzite is basically SteamOS. Not being able to play a lot of EA games, and obviously Call of Duty. You can't, the latest one you can't play because of the anti-cheat. But you actually thought you had this nut lying around, and you bung the old Bazzite on it.
I mean, I'll tell the whole story, but a month or two ago, actually for my birthday, I went to Tunbridge and I had lunch with my girlfriend and my mum, and we had a nice sort of bit of food. And then we went into Tunbridge, and I walked into sort of a charity shop to sort of see if there's any games in there. And then I sort of caught my eye was the Intel logo, and there was these like little boxes, and it was a little Intel NUC, and it was only £20. So I thought, right, what is that? What does it do? Okay, and then it said it had a Celeron processor in there. So anyway, I bought it home, opened it all up, and it didn't. If you buy it brand new, it doesn't come with memory, and it doesn't come with a hard drive. But this one had 8 gigabytes of RAM in it, but it didn't have a hard drive. So, okay, right, stuck it in the cupboard. And then at the weekend, I happened to, come across a CEX, which had a 256 gigabyte SSD. So I popped that into it. And then I thought, well, okay, I can't really get Windows on there because, Windows 10's dropped, and then, I might have to buy a license, or it costs a lot of money. It's probably only designed to run, Windows 8, Windows 7, because it's a few years old now. So I thought, I'll try and put a Linux on there. It doesn't matter if I, mess it up or whatever, it doesn't work. I'll try something else. I'll put it back in the cupboard. Who cares? So anyway, so I downloaded Bazzite and popped it onto a little USB drive, popped it in, and it installed sort of reasonably, sort of quite simply. And then I sort of got into it, and I put in all my Steam credentials, got it online, and I tried sort of playing a few games. And I think I enjoyed the installing process of setting it all up. But then the actual playing the games was... everyone's probably screaming and going, that's going to be awful. Well, surprise, surprise, it was awful. It was awful. And I thought to myself, it'll play Half-Life 2. It didn't play Half-Life 2. Came out with some sort of error. Man. Didn't play that. It played Vampire Survivors all right.
Nice.
It played Quake, but... the further you got into it, it started to get a little bit stuttery. I got a bit motion sick. I had enough of that. So I think I'm going to try one of the retro one of the distributions for Linux to play retro games on, so make it into a little retro game box. I think that's going to be my next experience, my next little project with it. So I think that'll be okay for up to Super Nintendo, maybe N64. Who knows? We'll give it a go. But actually, the using of Bazzite, it wasn't quite powerful enough to actually have the full screen mode on there. So I had to do everything through normal sort of Steam. It actually felt like, a pretty good experience. And, part of me thinking, I wish someone would come out with like a box where you could sort of, put it under your TV and have access to sort of, your Steam library and play all the games there.
We could only dream that could happen.
Do you reckon that could ever be announced?
Well, you know what? We speculated this stuff, didn't we? I think we basically come up with this idea between ourselves. We've speculated a lot of stuff about a potential, where Valve. People can obviously see where we're going with this, but what the hell? This is going to be fun. Where basically Valve could branch out from, their things that they've tried in the past, and now obviously the Steam Deck, which has been very successful to them. And I love the Steam Deck. It's my favorite sort of piece of hardware, really, video game hardware at the moment. And we speculated a whole bunch of stuff. We thought there was some leaked specs not a few months ago, and we talked about those. We were sort of hoping they would bring out basically a Steam Station, which would basically be a souped-up Steam Deck that wouldn't have a screen, obviously. It'd be a box that you plug into your telly. But it'll be the exact same experience as a Steam Deck. It'll have the same OS. They'll either come up with their own controller, which is, again, stuff that has been speculated as well, a sequel to their original Steam Deck controller. It'll probably look more like a Steam Deck without a screen. Or you just, you bring your own controller, DualSense, Xbox controller, whatever, and you just plug it into your TV, sit back on your couch, and you've got the same experience that you would have had plugging in a Steam Deck, which I do a lot, actually, to my TV. I've been playing my Steam Deck recently through my TV, playing Jedi Survivor on it. Wouldn't that be great? Because you could obviously be a lot more, you could potentially shove a lot more powerful hardware in there. You could have something that's basically, at minimum, you'd probably be wanting something as powerful as the base PS5. And you'd be able to throw all of your Steam library at it. But obviously, it will run way, way better than it would on a Steam Deck. You'd be looking at, being able to run games at 4K or at worst upscale to 4K, 60 frames a second, 120 frames a second, all that sort of cool stuff. Games that obviously just don't run well on the Steam Deck will just run fine. Like, the Oblivion remake and things that struggle just about maybe borderline playable on the Steam Deck out of current gen games will be able to run like perfectly well on a larger system. And you could potentially stream it to a Steam Deck if you've got both devices. And we even speculated that, maybe they could do like a mini version of that larger device that will just be a Steam Deck without the screen. Be a little tiny little, credit card size thing, perhaps. I don't know how much more you could make that without the controller, without the screen, just the Steam Deck hardware. Maybe you could actually have it so it could actually be able to have more power, as in literally like TDP. The TDP could go beyond the 15 that the Steam Deck allows, and it could go a bit further than that. So you've got kind of a Steam Deck Pro almost that's TV only, that would sit between the handheld and the big box. But yeah, literally today, I don't think anybody was really expecting anything imminently. So we're literally just, digesting this news that's happened in the last hour or two. Valve have basically announced this. They've announced sort of three things, really, haven't they? They've announced a Steam Machine. That's what it's called. The Steam Machine, which is that box that you plug into your TV, and it's the TV console version of the Steam Deck, but a lot more powerful. They've said we'll go into specs, but a quick one is just it's 6 times more powerful than the Steam Deck. They have announced their Steam controller, which is literally looks like all those. There's been a lot of like funny looking AI generated versions of what people think the Steam Deck controller would look like, and it's basically like almost like an Xbox controller with 2 trackpads on it, and that's basically what it is. That's basically what we've got. But it looks cool. And the Steam Deck controller, the control is pretty good, even with the screen in between it and the extra bulk. So that on a controller looks pretty cool. And a new VR headset, the Steam frame. They were speculating they were going to announce they were developing a new VR headset. They've already got the Index, which is a very expensive headset setup that you can get already from Valve. But this looks to be they haven't announced prices for any of this stuff as far as I'm aware.
No.
But potentially this will be cheaper. I don't know how cheap they could really get it, but I'm thinking it'll probably be cheaper. And that's the Steam frame. I actually thought the Steam frame was going to be the thing they were going to announce when they eventually got around to announcing something. I thought the Steam console would be further down the line and we'd get an announcement next year for maybe the year after. But no, it's been announced. We'll deep dive a bit more into the specs. Like I say, we are just digesting this. You're going to hear, unfortunately, a lot of clunking on mouses and things like that. Scrolling through the news that has literally just dropped on this. But what are your initial thoughts on all this stuff, Stu?
Well, I mean, of three things, two of them I'm really quite excited about. So obviously, in new controller with the touchpads on there, I've never really got to grips with the controller. I have to admit, the touchpads. Sorry, the touchpads. So I know a lot of people go, "Oh, yeah, they're absolutely brilliant," and
I love the touchpads.
You like them?
I do. Yeah, I don't use them for actually as a main control method for a game. But there's a lot of there is a lot of stuff I do where you often need to get past the launcher or RPCS3, the PS3 emulator. When you're in SteamOS and you're running that, picking your game, it's just that needs a mouse. So you got your trackpad, you can just drop down to that. Flick the mouse cursor around with that, and bam, you can very easily select something. So for those sort of like clunkiness things, it helps with that.
Yeah. So and obviously, I think I've talked about it on here before, but VR is something. I don't want to say it's a fad. That might be my famous last words, but it is something that I find extremely difficult to use and gives me awful motion sickness and is not a pleasurable experience. For me, I like to be sitting on the sofa on a desk, mouse and keyboard, controller in my hand on the sofa, playing a game. That's my happy place, whatever. So the actual I probably wouldn't even watch the video if it was just the Steam frame. But then the Steam machine was announced, and I was like, right now this is right. I start this, and then I think as soon as I saw that, I was messaging you. So, Trevor, watch this now. Watch this now. We'll talk about this. We'll talk about this. And I was actually really sort of excited about it because it's, for me, it's just something it's just an obvious. It's absolutely obvious. This is what people want. They want all of their games in a simple box. Plug it into the TV, plug it into multiple monitors, use it as a computer. Do almost like whatever you want with it. Have a mouse and keyboard, and I think it's going to be a really good introduction into sort of computer gaming for people. And I watched the first sort of 10 minutes of the Digital Foundry, and I love the way they described it. They put I can't remember it, but they put the SteamOS is like it's like Windows, but just everything's sort of made simple and easy, and it's made sort of like a real sort of pleasurable experience. You're not just having to update this and do that in the background.
I think there is an advantage
drop
as well.
Files here and all of that rubbish. So I think it's going to be a really good sort of piece of kit. At the moment, they haven't announced pricing, so I'm not sure when that's going to come out. Maybe in the next few days, maybe months away. Not sure, but I think that will give us a good idea about the machine. But obviously, I can imagine you're for it, Trev.
Yeah, I can't wait. This is the hardware I've really been waiting for, like more than the Switch 2. more than like a potential PS6 or whatever the Xbox is bringing out. For me, the Steam Deck is the best piece of hardware in years, and it's one of my already be in my like top 3 favorite systems ever, because it's that dream sort of combination of PC gaming and console gaming that perhaps we always wanted. But no one ever really quite cracked it. Yeah, there are the downsides, like there are issues with games that don't work through Proton. But for the most part, everything that I've thrown at it has been great. And, you can overcome the issues with Proton. I mean, they've already said that this is just like a Steam Deck. You can install Windows on it if you want, so you can play FC26 and Call of Duty multiplayer. So you can overcome those issues. But yeah, it's pretty much, I would say it seems to be what we kind of speculated it would be. I don't think we were being particularly clever in our speculations. They only really had to build a really good PC that's on a par with the PS5. Probably a couple of different models, which it looks like they have. I think it's just the storage that is the differentiating factor there. There's 2 of them. Again, we're kind of looking at the specs here now. So the 512 gig or 2 terabyte. They've used that to differentiate between the systems, like they did with the Steam Deck. Although you've got the different screens as well, but for the most part, it's the internal storage. This is perfect. I mean, I'm going to pre-order the Steam machine. I mean, to go back to what you were saying about the VR. Yeah, I mean, I'm a fan of VR. I wouldn't say it's a fad. I think it's been around a few years now. The current iteration of it. I know there was in the 90s we had VR. But in terms of mainstream sort ofness, I think it's probably here to stay. But I don't think it'll ever become completely sort of casual, because you still got to kind of make a big point of setting it up and getting up with the 2 controllers. And when it's like a pair of glasses, you can just chuck them on and bam, you're there playing, like it is grabbing your Steam Deck or your Switch or picking up your controller and playing it with no motion sickness or anything. Then maybe it'll hit. It might even become the normal way to play games, but that's a long way off before we get anywhere near there. So the Valve, the new frame, doesn't interest me too much. I do have the VR2. To be honest, I haven't really touched it too much. The Valve VR might interest me if the price is decent. If it's like 800, 900, 1,000 quid for like the 2 controllers and the headset, I don't think I'll be interested. But if it's maybe like 400, 500, 600, I wouldn't buy it with the Steam machine, but maybe a few months down the line when I get a bit more cash together, then I might get it, because I would like to play VR. I do like playing VR games, and presumably this would have, be able to play stuff going back years of VR, back into sort of the PS4 era of VR. Whereas the VR2, you kind of have a complete cut-off from the PS4 games. You can't play any of those VR1 games on the VR2. You have to plug a VR1 into your PS5, which is clunky as hell. So I assume it will just work like that. Obviously, there's other things you can do with PC VR that you can't do with the console. There's mods to games that aren't VR that this will be able to support. Presumably, I haven't really delved into PC-based VR. I'm kind of with you on that, but I would consider getting one further down the line if they are relatively cheap. I don't think they're going to be like the Google the Quest. I don't think they're going to be like 200, 300 quid. But if they keep it under 600, it might be interesting.
I mean, for me, it's VR is I just get completely motion sickness from it. So I don't actually, if I didn't get motion sickness, I'm sure I'll probably enjoy, playing the games within it. I have to admit, but the fact that I find that I physically can't play them, and playing the game should be an enjoyable experience, with a bit of challenge, but not to make you feel sick and things like that. And so I've got no real problems with VR, and I'm sure it'll carry on for generations to come, and it'll keep on being improved. But for me, it's not for me. But looking at I mean, the Steam Deck is the Steam machine. Yeah, so used to saying deck, don't you?
Steam Deck Pro.
512 gigabytes 2 terabyte models. So there's 2 different models. They were talking about how it will and won't come with the controller. So
well, before we dive too deep into the specs, I would like to sort of touch upon that controller as well. We did sort of joke that it does look like those AI sort of jokey mock-ups that people made of what a Steam controller 2 could look like, and it kind of does look like those. But that I would be very interested in, because it is sometimes a frustration when there are games that don't have any controller support. I mean, a quick example off the top of my head was the original PC version of Elder Scrolls Oblivion. It's kind of redundant now that you can get the new remake that completely supports controllers, so that's not really an issue, I guess, now. But originally, we only had the original, when the Steam Deck came out, the original Oblivion, didn't support controllers really at all. But with the Steam Deck and the trackpads, and also, you know, the user profiles that people create, where people map the buttons on a controller to, you know, to cover all the different functions that maybe the keyboard and the mouse covered, and then they upload those profiles for people to share and download and use. There was a profile like that for Oblivion for the Steam Deck, and you could play it, just and it felt pretty much like it did with the controller. And this is a game that was completely keyboard and mouse. And the frustration is, at the moment, and it's going to go away pretty soon now we've got this controller coming out, but not just Oblivion, but any game where you've got that really nice, those really nice custom controller profiles for the Steam Deck's layout. When you like dock your Steam Deck and then you go to using, I use a Dual Sense on my Steam Deck, and for the most part that works great. But when you've got something like that version of Oblivion that was just keyboard and mouse, but with profiles you could use, they wouldn't necessarily work with a Dual Sense, because you would need someone to create a profile for that controller for that game. You can't kind of shoehorn the Steam Deck controls into that. So you'd be stuck with kind of trying to map it yourself or not bothering. And there's other things like I mentioned, those trackpads are handy for when you need to get through a launcher, or you're using playing like an emulator, like a couple that I use that need you to use a mouse at some point is PCSX2 and RPCS3. You have to start off in like a menu, like a desktop window menu. But when you're in gaming mode, it will present you that menu, but you need to have you can press there is a keyboard shortcut to allow you, or a joy controller shortcut that allow you to use the one of the sticks on the controller to move the mouse around, and then a button to press the mouse button. But when you're using the Steam Deck and it's in your hand, you could just use those trackpads and then click, and then it works just like you've got a mouse plugged in. But when you're docked, and again you're using a Dual Sense, you don't have that trackpad. You've actually got you have got the track bar that's on the Dual Sense, but it doesn't quite work as well. It's a bit clunkier. I could mess around more and probably get it to work better as a trackpad, but you know, straight off the bat, this controller will work just as well as the built-in Steam Deck controls. So when I get, and I'm guaranteeing that I'm going to get, I'm going to put an order in for this Steam machine. I think I'm going to get it with that controller, because that will be great to be able to navigate with those trackpads. But you don't have to. You can bring your own controller. If you like the Dual Sense, it'll work with that. If you like the Xbox controller, it'll work with that. You're not beholden to any controller. But Stu, go ahead. You were going to dive into those specs.
So obviously it comes with and without the Steam controller. So I think that will make it quite a good price as well. But so the CPU is an AMD Zen 4. GPU is an RDNA 3. So that's last gen. So it's a little bit older. And people were saying it's the equivalent of a 4060. So then that's sort of a last gen sort of mid-level GPU. So, but that'll mean that hopefully it'll be at the right price. Yeah,
exactly. People are like, it should have been a 5080 in there. It's like, well, yeah, if they want to sell it for $2,000,
Exactly. So supports 4K gaming, 60 frames per second with frame generation. Ray tracing supported, 6 times more powerful.
we've seen how good the latest FSR is. I mean, I think we're on FSR 4 now, which I don't think the Steam Deck supports. But you can shoehorn it in, but it doesn't do it out of the box, whereas this should. And it looks as good as like a native 4K image. So it's basically 4K gaming with minimal amount of artifacting. I mean, 2 years ago, the upscaling techniques that make everything look very smeary, there'd be fizzing around objects that are moving. A lot of that stuff has kind of been fixed, isn't it, Stu?
Yeah, well, I'm playing now. Obviously, it's in the NVIDIA world, but Outer Worlds, and I put on their DLSS. I think that's what it's called.
That's the NVIDIA version, yeah.
Exactly. And I'm like, well, I can't feel any lag at all. I can't see any artifact in it. It feels absolutely fine to me. Feels really smooth, not a problem at all. So all this sort of frame generation has really sort of come up in the world, and so I'm excited to see that. And you've got to think about that. I think what they're aiming this to be used for is actually it's going to be used on a TV, and TVs can really do 60 frames per second or 60 hertz maximum. You can get TVs that can do more, but that's
I've
what
got
they're aiming
a
for.
Hisense. My Hisense does 144, I think, but it's got extra.
Nice.
It's like a pro version of a Hisense TV that's got a bunch of gaming stuff in it, and I've actually started using those. There are a lot of games on the Steam Deck when it's docked that you can actually run up to 120 frames a second, like older games. And PS5 games that have performance modes some of them can go that high. This TV's and it's got FreeSync, so you don't get any screen tearing and stuff like that. Perfect. So TVs are getting pretty good at that. But I think the point you're getting at is, and you're totally right, Stu, is you're not going to be sat with a screen in. Some people might use it like this, of course, it's a PC. But for me, certainly, and for a lot of people, they're going to be sat across the room from a large TV. They're not going to be, stopping and zooming in on a puddle like Alex Battaglia does on Digital Foundry. Checking the screen space reflections are correctly rendering, and that stuff.
Because you're absolutely right. As soon as you start playing a game, if you're enjoying the game, it's as long as it's not like a slideshow. I like to think it doesn't bother me, but I think it probably would. Anyway, 16 gigabytes of RAM, DDR5.
Upgradable. It's upgradable.
Oh, is it upgradable?
Yeah.
The RAM, Oh, wow.
The RAM, yeah.
Okay, I missed that. 8 gigabyte GDDR6 VRAM. So that might be a little bit low. That might be a little bit low.
I mean, thankfully, it's not Vampire Video, so it's not like it's 16 gig that's then shared between. As far as I could tell, unless I'm getting this wrong, but looking at Digital Foundry, looking at Eurogamer, it says the RAM and the GPU RAM are listed separately. Yeah. And it's saying also the RAM is upgradable, so that would suggest it's a separate system to the graphics RAM, which is good.
Exactly. Now, I've interpreted that as it's separate. So micro SD card slot for expanded storage, but it looks like you can put a new M.2 storage into it if you need it. But one of the things they were saying on the Digital Foundry video, you've got loads of games installed on your an SD card on your Steam Deck. You can just take that out and put it into pop it in, and away you go.
Yeah, there was some worries about how well games would run off an SD card, but I mean, a great example, I keep talking about it, but because it's one playing on my Steam Deck at the moment heavily, it's Jedi Survivor, which is a current gen game. They made a PS4 version later, but that's a different build of the game. The game that I'm running is the PC version, which is the same as the PS5, and that runs off the SD card. And not only
really?
Yeah, I've got a super fancy, crazy, fast SD card. I bought a SanDisk one, so it's not like a weird Chinese cheapo AliExpress kind of deal. But the game runs fine. I mean, the game is a little bit not brilliant on the PC anyway because it's not very well optimized. But it's been perfectly playable for me. Loading times probably are a bit longer than if it was running off the internal storage. But I mean, that's a pretty heavy game. and it runs fine. So now I know when I probably would have completed it by the time I get my hands on the Steam machine. But if I want to play it again, obviously I'll get a huge boost in performance, probably beyond what the PS5 version has. But yeah, running games off an SD card, anything works. I think that's been proven now by the Steam Deck. So yeah.
Well, yeah. Exactly. So, I mean, you might get certain games where, you're constantly going from world to world or something like that.
Yeah.
So I think it might be, they might offer guidance as if, if you're playing, Cyberpunk, then play that on the M.2, because that will generally be a faster experience. And when we say faster, it's more, loading up sort of different zones and getting into, going around the menus, loading in the game.
Traversal stutter and getting in the menus, like you say. And things like that,
exactly. Yeah. But I think a lot of people with the the Steam Deck, they might be spending, actually, I just want to play Vampire Survivors, I want to play Balatro, I want to play all these games. Well, they're the ones that if you can direct them to the micro SD card, then you can play them off there, and then I doubt there'll be any difference.
And to be honest, I think if the advantage of the Steam machine is you're not kind of limited to SD cards like you are with the Steam Deck. I mean, well, I know you can open up your Steam Deck and you could take out the NVMe hard drive in there and stick in another one, but it's quite invasive and a bit painful to do. Not something you can just quickly do. Whereas this, I think it's just an expansion slot that'll be in the back and just pop a new NVMe in there. So if you absolutely have to run things
I think you've got to take the top off. I think, or take the bottom off.
Top off.
Yeah,
so it'll be a lot easier than it won't be like a Steam Deck where you're dealing with screens that might fall out and all kinds of stuff and controller
it's certainly
parts.
A lot easier than that. Yeah.
But you can if you're running out of space, you've got that option very easy. As opposed to just an SD card and nothing else. Yeah.
DisplayPort 1.4 up to 4K at 240 hertz or 8K at 60 hertz. So I don't think many people will be doing any 8K gaming on it.
Probably not.
No. Supports HDR, FreeSync, and daisy chaining. I'm not really sure what daisy chaining is, but it supports
where you get
daisy
some
chaining.
daisies and you tie them together. I don't know what's that got to do with a PC.
No.
But you're a big fan of flowers. There you go. You can chain them.
The PC Engine back in the day, you used to have to daisy chain the controllers together. But
the 3DO used to do that.
3DO as well. Yeah. HDMI 2.0, and that supports 4K at 120 hertz, and that supports HDR, FreeSync, and CEC, whatever CEC is, but it's supported. Ethernet, 1 gigabyte per second, USB-C, 10 gigabytes, 4 USB-A ports. 2 in the front, 2 in the back. It's got 2x2 Wi-Fi 6E, dedicated Bluetooth antenna, and an integrated Steam controller port or 2.4 gigahertz widget. So you can just easily link up your Steam controller to it. So,
I think it has its own sort of. I think it has its own customary 2.4 gigahertz connection. The Steam. You can use the Steam control, the new one. You can use Bluetooth and another 2.4 gigahertz, but it's kind of like the Xbox 360 control that had its own special 2.4 gigahertz wireless thing. That's why there wasn't third-party wireless controllers for that. I guess it's super low latency and kind of is a bit more custom. So, but yeah, the dongle that you would have to get used separately on anything else you want to use that controller on is built into this unit. And the good thing is that I like is the power brick. There isn't an external power brick.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
It's just a figure of 8 that you plug in the back.
I think I went over it, but the TDP is 110 watts, so it's not too much. Oh no, sorry. Yeah, so it's the processor is 30 watts, and then the GPU is 110. So I don't know if that means it's 140 total.
There's. I mean. I'm not sure what the maximum the Steam Deck does. We know the GPU is 15. It can go up to, but then the CPU obviously has its own power that it sucks up from the power supply. from that as well. So maybe 20 or so max, I think, is the amount of watts that can do. So this is ginormous jump from that. Again, comparable to a PS5 or an Xbox. Might be a little bit less than that actually, but yeah. And I think the only other things to say really is it's got an LED bar to make it look cool and gaming like. Although it's going to tell you if you're downloading stuff, and kind of like all this status lights do on basically every console, I think, going back to the Xbox 360. That would sort of pulse, I think, when it was in sleep mode, but it was downloading stuff. I think it will do all that kind of stuff as well. And obviously it runs SteamOS, and SteamOS obviously has now been maturing basically since, it was announced with the Steam Deck, of course, and that was in 2021. So crikey, that's 5 years we're pushing now. And by the time these new devices are released, it'll be 5 years, and it's improved huge amounts in that time. Things I'm looking forward to. Obviously, the games. This is obviously a PC. Your Steam library will just come across to it. So all those games you've already got, you better play them still, and you have been mainly doing.
Well, actually, saying that, they were talking about the verification system. So apparently now, when you go onto Steam, it obviously says, this game plays on Windows, and this game plays on, the Steam Deck. This game plays on Mac. So you got all these little icons. There'll be a second level of verification for it to play on the Steam machine. So, in my opinion, everything that will work on the Steam Deck will automatically work on the Steam machine. You would think
Definitely,
so.
Yeah.
I can't see why it wouldn't, but potentially it might not. So
bear in mind that there's a lot of stuff that's unverified that still works. Again, Jedi Survivor, keep mentioning it. That's unverified.
Loads of the games
that works.
They say they're unverified, and then you click on it, and it says the text is really small.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Actually,
overcome.
Well, that doesn't bother me. It's not like you can be playing Football Manager. So in reality, on the big screen, with all this additional power, all those games that'll be, the text is small. In my opinion, they'll automatically become verified Steam games, or Steam Deck games, or Steam machine games.
Yeah, exactly. I think you're spot on. Really, just whatever you could play on the Steam Deck will run, on this new Steam machine. It'll run a lot better because obviously it's a lot more powerful. You'll be able to get performance, akin to a PS5. I'm not sure if you could potentially squeeze more power out, and maybe it could even exceed a PS5. I doubt it. I need to watch, see what Rich Leadbetter and all those Digital Foundry guys think of these specs. But I think you can expect at least what a PS5 can do. And if you're not getting on with SteamOS because of one game, it won't run on. Like again, we all talk about it, but Call of Duty and FIFA and FC 2024, 25, 26, you can put Windows on this thing, and maybe that'll be a slightly better experience if you do that, because you could probably stick that sort of new Xbox ROG Ally sort of version of Windows on this thing, and maybe it'll make that side of it a lot easier. But I guess ultimately, I've already said that I'm going to be grabbing one of these. There's already a kind of big SteamOS kind of advocate now, and have been since I got my hands on the original Steam Deck in 2022 now. Is this something you would consider buying, Stu?
Do you know what? I don't know. And when I was watching the video just before the podcast, I was having all these sort of thoughts about, okay, would it fit under my TV? That's a silly thought, isn't it? Would it fit under my TV? That shouldn't really be a decision maker. But then I was sort of thinking about, hold on, I can't.
It looks quite small.
It does, yeah. Small. Someone described it as a GameCube size, but it looks bigger than that to me. So from my point of view, I'd have to wait and see the price. But I do really enjoy just sort of playing games on my PC in this room with a mouse and keyboard. And at the moment, this absolutely works perfect for me. So I think I might be tempted, depending on sort of what the price is and so on. But at the moment, I think I'm 50-50 on it. But so I think you're for it. So I'm 50-50. But I think it's going to be an amazing machine, and I don't take anything away from it. But what do you think about that? We sort of said this before, and it kind of rang true. Do you think other people are going to be making? Will there be an Acer Steam machine? Will there be Lenovo Steam machine? Will there be an ROG Steam machine? Will lots of other people be coming out with these Steam machines? Sticking the operating system on there and actually, making one. Do you think that'll happen?
Well, I think they've already said that they're not looking to make this a thing that they're going to try and own themselves. They've already said, much like they've started to do with SteamOS, they've the handheld kind of version of it. They've already kind of put that on. There's a Legion Go that's just the SteamOS version.
Yeah,
and there's going to be more and more. I'm sure. I'm sure there'll be a Steam Deck 2 at some point, but they probably were looking to get these out the door first. Then probably the Steam Deck 2 will be after that. But I think there will be. Yeah, I think they'll probably. I don't know if they license it out. I mean, it's like a free OS. I don't know if they just say, yeah, go ahead and use it, and we'll support. They'll probably say, we'll work with Lenovo like we did with their Legion Go SteamOS edition. They can make a Steam machine, a Lenovo Steam machine. We'll help them with the drivers, whatever bits of hardware they want to cram into theirs. So which is great, because I think that would be great if we have all these different Steam machines that run SteamOS nicely. Because if there are people that are complaining, they should have put a 5080 in it, it's going to be crap. I can't play anything at less than 300 frames a second. Anything less than that is unplayable. If the people that are like that, well, they'll probably be Lenovo will make a super mega Steam machine with the most insane graphics card in it, and you can go and buy that one for $2,000.
But that's it, Trev. If you're, I think Random Gaming in HD, I'm a big fan of his channel. Give a shout out to him.
Yeah, same here. Yeah.
But he does. He did some videos where he put like an AMD graphics card into an AMD machine, and then managed to get Steam OS working on that, and that was a really good experience. That was I think he had a reasonable experience. But people can actually go, okay, well, I want a 5090, I want a AMD 98X3D processor, I want 64 gig of RAM, I want a 12 terabyte hard drive, and then I want SteamOS on that, and potentially that could happen. You make this absolute beast of a Steam machine, and as long as it's got looking at the specs there, which we went through earlier on, my computer's got all of that really, so I could just put download SteamOS, install that, and away you go. And
yeah, exactly. I mean, I guess that brings us on, as we're sort of trying to hit the hour to the last thing. I mean, we kind of quickly sort of went through the other two sort of things. I mean, the Steam controller is the one thing we both are interested in as well. Probably going to grab that with the system. Hopefully, you'll save a little bit of money on the controller when you buy it with the Steam machine. The VR, again, neither of us are particularly bothered about. Potentially, I might think about it further down the line if it's not that expensive. But I guess the last thing to mention that involves all of these things is price, really. So if we start with the Steam machine, there's obviously two of them, 512 gig, 2 terabyte. What do you think the price of those two units is going to be?
Yeah, so on the IGN video, they didn't mention the price other than saying it, we hope it's around $1,000. So then that might be, I think the 512 one would be around the 600, and the 2 terabyte one will be around sort of £700, £800 maybe.
Yeah.
Because I think we've got to, you've got to think about that. Well, actually, Steam did, with the Steam Deck, I still feel that's a subsidized machine because, the reason is everyone buys it and then, you're into the Steam marketplace, and then, for every game you buy on Steam, they get 30% of that. So
there's also there is that, but they also got the custom APU from AMD, so they're getting a discount on that. It looks like they're getting a custom APU from it's not, it's a CPU and a GPU, but they're probably getting a discount from AMD on that as well. So they're probably going to be, and obviously there's what you just said, they get the money back from people buying games off Steam. So they could, this will be cheaper than I think you cobbling these parts together yourself and buying a PC. I think it will definitely be cheaper than that. I think the prices you've got will probably be about right.
Yeah, I mean, it's a wait and see, isn't it? So you don't want people doing going in there and go, well, actually, I can build a computer that's better than this, and it's cheaper, and then you'd be, oh, okay, well, have they got the pricing right then? And then, and on the other hand, well, that's a thing, really, isn't it? So, I don't really keep up to date with sort of pricing of systems, but a last generation AMD with a equivalent of a 4060, a couple of terabytes hard drive, I don't really know how much that costs. But
it'll definitely be closer to $1,000, I would say.
Exactly, but then the point is Valve can subsidise that with the fact that well everyone is going to buy the machine, and then let's say they spend £400 or £500 a year on games, or £300, so then that's like £100 extra every year. They'll get more people into the and then they just need one person to play Counter-Strike and become addicted to getting all of the skins and stuff, and they're raking it in.
Exactly, yeah. So you're absolutely spot on there, Stu. Yeah. I mean, they're getting all that subsidy, and on top of that, they're getting they've got a custom parts from AMD, which they're going to get a discount on buying them in bulk, just like Sony do, just like Nintendo do, and something that Lenovo and other PC makers don't. They just kind of buy them wholesale. So there's that to consider. I think, 512 gig, you're looking at £500-600, and the 2 terabyte, 700-800, could be £100 swing on either of them. I think that's pretty decent prices for a strong gaming PC.
I know the answer. I know the answer. Are you going to get the 512 one or the 2 terabyte?
It's got to be the 2 terabyte, isn't it? Really?
I knew you'd say that. Yeah,
but it's not. Yeah. It's actually not much of a deal breaker as maybe it was with the Steam Deck, when you haven't really got. You're limited to SD card storage, so you could say, well, I could get the 256 gig, but the rest of the storage that I could get for that will be SD cards. Whereas this, you could just get the 512 and just get another NVMe and open it up and pop it in, and you could probably get that NVMe cheap off Amazon. So you could get the equivalent of a 2 terabyte for a lot less than maybe what Valve were charging you for it. So so you got that. But I probably would depending on the price. But I think I'd probably swing towards the 2 terabyte. The controller, it seems like sort of, high end. I'm not sure if you'd call this a high end controller. It's got all the extra buttons and stuff. It's not a basic controller, that's for sure. You're probably looking at 60-70 quid, I would say, for that.
Yeah, that's my thought. So, and then that potentially might be, chucked in with the box. We're not really too sure, but we'll have to wait and see.
I think the final thing, me and Stu aren't particularly bothered about it, but the VR. It's difficult to know where they're going to be aiming for it. Is this something that they want to take on the Meta Quest, or are they just looking to kill off the PlayStation VR 2, which Sony are doing that on their own? I don't think it'll be as expensive as the Index is. I think you're probably still looking at 500, 600 quid. Maybe more. I might have already gone out on the low side there. What do you think on that, Stu?
I don't really know the prices of where they all sit. So I was just looking on my my second screen to see how many sort of VR games there are on Steam, but it doesn't really. I can't find that section. I only looked for about 2 seconds, but I wouldn't know really where they all sit. I think £300-400, £500, something like that, maybe.
Yeah.
And actually, one thing that was, I don't think this is the case, but I was sort of thinking about, would they have, it's sort of powered by the Steam Deck, and then the Steam frame is just almost like the screens. So you have the sort of Steam Deck in your back pocket or around a belt or something, and then would you have like a cable going up to the screens, and that had some sort of motion widget in there or something? I don't know if that'd be possible.
I think they've already said that it could be. It could run separately on its own. So you can run games on the headset directly, like you do on a Google Quest or a Meta Quest. But you can also connect it to a PC to run VR games from the PC to the headset. So no, you wouldn't need it can run untethered completely from any device and just play games on the device itself. Don't know what sort of power that has on its own. Is it just a kind of a Steam Deck equivalent in a VR thing? I'm not really sure. I doubt it, because you need fairly powerful hardware to run VR to a decent degree. Although the Meta Quests aren't that expensive, but they're still probably better than a PS4. Built into that little headset. But there we go. The coming weeks and months, when release dates are going to be announced, and prices will be the biggest thing we'll be looking forward to hear. Anyway, Stu, where can you find us on the interwebs?
We're on consoleshock.net. You can find us on any podcast client. You can find us on Twitter or X. You can find us on Facebook and YouTube as well. So you can find us on pretty much everything. Cool.
Well, thanks everybody for listening. It was slightly more impromptu than we were planning for today, with all this stuff getting announced literally an hour or two before we hit the record button. We couldn't quite go as in depth as we would like, because we're new to all of this as well. But I'm sure we're going to be talking about it a lot more in forthcoming episodes once there's more information out there, and we're looking forward to seeing all of that come out. So cheers again, guys, for listening to us, and we'll catch you in the next one. See you later.
Take it easy, guys. Bye-bye.